Welcome back to my channel. In this episode we fabricate the turbo manifolds, the turbo crossover pipe, the hot and cold side intercooler piping, and we do a bit of paint work. So we've painted the engine bay. This is the colour that the car will go eventually. Then we've painted a few of the components that we fabricated and some of the engine accessories. So we've painted the gearbox cross member, the turbo, the manifold, the throttle body and piping, painted the sump and rocket covers and all that stuff. So yeah, tune in and you'll see all that in this episode. So I scrapped the idea that I had to use the Commodore cross member because it was sitting too far away from here and it was just gonna cause problems. So I've got a little L bracket piece of 5mm plate that I'm going to weld a piece of roll cage tube to, and then I'll gusset this in. So I've cut an angle on that, and then I'll angle it back up, 45 it to the floor. So I'm going to weld the plates inside the car with some bolts in it, so the threads are exposed, and then this will go up with a plate on this pipe, or the next one that I've got, with some holes in it, and that'll bolt in, so it'll sort of go boom, boom, boom. Just tucks it up out of the way so I've got room to run the exhaust through, because before it used to run across and had this notch in it for the exhaust and it was pretty weak. But I think that's the best way to go about it to utilize this mount that we got. So yeah, I'll weld that to that, boom, boom, boom. Then I'll gusset this in, tie it all in and weld it on. It'll be strong. I'm just gonna weld that up and then plate them off the floor. So I'll just tack these together, offer it up to the car, and we'll see how it goes. So these are my plates that I've put in the car. They've just got the bolts. I just TIG welded them to the plate and that slipped through the floor. Got the plate up in the car with the studs on it. So that just sandwiches it through the floor. And then I just got the bit of roll cage tube that I welded into 245 degrees and back to the plates, and just a piece of 6mm angle iron there. Welded that onto it, top and bottom. Then that bolts to this rubber power glide mount. Cut pretty nice. Alright. Yeah, make that known too. Huh? Alright, so we got the marketplace special. Got the, I think it's a, what is it, a G42, we think?
40, I think. 40 or 42, yeah.
G42 marketplace special, $500 for the turbo, the blow-off valve, and a 60mm wastegate. Now, you'll have to follow along and watch to see if it's going to be 2 turbos or 1. But yeah, $500, what a deal. It's going to be cool to make some decent power and chop some people with $500 turbo setup. So on the turbo side, I've got this manifold which the turbo's obviously up here, so I don't really want to snake it down to come up, and the alternator sits about there, so I managed to get the alternator to work in the original location. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I was thinking I could either cut all this off and weld some steam pipe to it, make like a log manifold. But what I think I'm going to do is, if you look on this, at about this point here, it's pretty much 2-inch, and it's round. It doesn't quite look like it, but the casting, and it's definitely, I think it'll be close enough. So I think I'm going to cut it about there, and then section it out, and then I'll sort of smooth that up, and I'll slip this bit of pipe in that gap, and then I'll just sort of weld the tops of this, and then I'll obviously cut a piece out of that, weld that to it, and then I can start, like I can weld my other bits of steam pipe off it to go to the T4 turbo flange. So I'm going to give that a crack. Put that in the press and ovaled it a bit. So I think I'm just going to cut it and see how we go. Cut that out. I'll probably leave a bit here so I can drill a hole in this and merge it together. So there we go. It's tacked on now. The tacks are pretty weak because I haven't preheated this or anything, but it's enough to get this in the car, and I'll start figuring out where the turbo placement's going to be. That's the T4 to V-band 90 degree I was talking about. So that's 2.5 inch, this is 2 inch. So I'm going to get it, I've got a car, like a steam pipe cone, I'm going to step up to that. I'll cut this V-band off and I'll weld the cone from this to that. And I've just made a temporary plate just to hold this turbo in place because it's pretty heavy. And then the turbo was going this way, so where the intercooler is here, it's a bit of a tight radius to get in there. I just don't like the look of the turbos like I did on Cranky. I hate the look of it going that way, so I've decided to trim the inner guard, and then I'll go down pretty much 180 back up, and then 90 degree into the intercooler. Got this manifold all welded out. It's about as good as it's going to get with the material we're dealing with. About as good as I can get it anyway. It'll be plenty strong. I can't see it cracking anyway. So we've got we're going to put the turbo on a the turbo's going on like a support mount anyway, so the weight of the turbo will be held from the mount, not the actual turbo manifold. So I think we'll be right, and if it does crack, then we'll just deal with that when it happens, if it happens. Crossover pipe time. So I've got the V-band tacked on there. I'm just gonna start with a 45 tacked onto this V-band. Put that in there, and then I'll start snaking it around under this balancer and up. Got the LSA water pump on there, so that's given us a heap of room for the radiator clearance. And we just put this LS2 alternator bracket. That moved the alternator in a heap, so we've got enough room here to fit the 2.5 inch pipe up, and then we'll merge it into this T4 flange. Perfect. Bang on level. Then we'll snake from that up, and we'll drill a hole in that, merge it in, and then we'll just weld it all out. Alright, so we got this is a 60-degree bend. We've got this all leveled. Now the 60 is going to go in here, and that brings us pretty close to our flange here, so we'll probably put the V-band on there, which is somewhere. I think I'll put it up on the bench. Probably put the V-band on here, and then from the V-band we'll start snaking it up towards that, or the V-band might end up in that piece somewhere. We'll find a spot for it. That's getting pretty close. I've tacked the 45 onto the manifold, and I've just cut out this little pie cut. So I'm just going to sit this in here. I'll put the radiator in too, just so you can sort of see what I'm dealing with. A bit hard to balance, but if I put this pipe into that bellow, that little flex bellow on a bit of an angle with that pie cut like that, we just sort of snake up around the radiator there, so that fits pretty good. As for where I'm going to put the V-band, I've got no idea just yet. This is what we ended up with. Goes from the cast manifold to the V-band, snakes down, a little flex bellow here, sort of cut a little bit of an angle on this pipe because the radiator sits about here. Yeah, just one little pie cut in there, and it's sort of all matched up. Had a little bit of a boo-boo here, I couldn't quite get it to tack. I sort of folded up trying to bend in the car to get it tack on it. But yeah, I'll clean that up and fill that in, that'll be fine. So now I just need to find a spot for the V-band. I'll try and find some, I'll put the radiator and that in and try and find a spot where it's not going to interfere with anything. It's time to do the hot side cooler pipe. So I'm doing this hot side pipe, and to keep it in the theme of the budget, I'm going to recycle any offcuts of bends and stuff that I've had from other jobs. Probably 2 of these together. Boom, boom, and then it'll be a straight shot up. Sort of wish I chose a different piece of scrap now as I'm welding it. It's like I didn't sand it enough or something. Hang on, I'll turn my music off. probably get cancelled or something. Yeah, I wish I kind of chose a different piece of scrap now. As I'm welding it, it's pretty dirty. Either I didn't sand it properly, or it's just like soaked with oil or paint or something. It's like pulling out. You can see the little bits that are coming out in it. It's like welding cast almost. I can see why whoever welded the donut here probably had troubles as well. Anyway, here's what we got. All part of the budget spec build. Just use what we got and make it work, and yeah. Alright, I'm going to keep my camera up here so you can't see my welds. I'm not blaming the material, but I'm blaming the material. Not some of my best welds, but they're going to get the job done. So the that piece of pipe offcut from the old intercooler pipes I've welded onto the compressor housing, and then I've just made up this little elbow using some offcuts of a old donut that was off an old intercooler pipe. And then just put some straights on it. So I just got to bead roll these edges, and then they'll go into those silicon 90s. That's still a bit hot, and that'll join up to the silicon 90 on the compressor housing. Yeah, it's still come out alright, just I'm pretty fussy. So I'm back, it's a new day. Today I'm going to fab up the cold side intercooler pipe. So to start with, I've just got this silicon 3" 90, which I do need to cut back just to move it over a bit. And things aren't quite going to plan. So I didn't know what cylinder heads come with the engine that Ryan bought, because they were at the machine shop. I wasn't sure if they were cathedral port or like the rectangle port, like the LS2, LS3 heads. We weren't sure. But I've got the heads back now, and they are cathedral port. So I'm not going to be able to use the LS2, LS3 intake manifold. So Scott, the owner of Cranky, gifted us the intake manifold, some fuel rails, and a 102mm throttle body. So we were hoping to use that on this, but it's not going to work out because we've got cathedral port heads. So I've got to use the LS1 intake, which is not a big issue apart from the snout where the intake goes. As you can see on the LS1 intake, the throttle body sits a lot more further forward than the LS3, which we were hoping to use this because it gave us room for from the radiator. We were going to just run like a silicon 90 off just to save time, etc. But that's not going to work. So I'm going to use the LS1 throttle body. I've just taken the fan off because where the fan sat was sort of getting in the way. Like it was sort of getting in the way here. So I'm going to worry about getting the cold side mounted, and then I'll find a spot for the fan wherever it sits. We've already had a bit of clashing here with the water pump, so we sort of moved the fan over a bit, but I think we're gonna have to move it the other way. So anyway, enough with all that. So what the plan now is, I'm going to, I can't really put a silicon 90 on there because it's going to hit. So I'm going to cut off as much as I can on this throttle body, and then I'm going to try and gain some room here to weld a piece of 4". You can already see it's pretty tight, but it will fit if I trim a little bit off that. So again, I'm just using some scrap that I've got. So I'll trim a bit off the off the throttle body to fit this 4" on, and I'll weld that on. And then I'll probably weld another little elbow that way, and then I'll use a straight coupler here, and then we'll run that to the silicon coupler. Sort of just got to do it that way. If you need to clean the throttle body, you're just going to have to pull it off and clean it from the backside. It just is what it is in this scenario.
tacked on. And I'm just figuring out how to go from the intercooler to here using what we've got. So I found this coupler, which is a 3-inch steps up to 4-inch, so I might be able to use this. Saves a little bit of welding, and we need to put a silicone coupler here anyway.
So got the 90, and then like 4 pie cuts, and then a piece of straight with a little bead rolled edge on it. Ended up working out alright. So yeah, I got the elbow welded on the throttle body. It was pretty hard to weld to that throttle body, real dirty, but it works. And this is all getting painted gloss black. Stepped it down. I ended up just using what we had. We had this old 4-inch to 3-inch coupler. I think Ryan had it on the like the air filter on the front of the compressor housing on the old 1J setup. So yeah, same recycled. Just a 3-inch 90-degree bend, and I just cut some of the leg length off and a 90-degree into the intercooler here. Now we're just going to use our marketplace blow off valve. I think I'll just tuck that underneath there. So yeah, just pop that on the underside there. Nowhere else really for it. Don't really want to be showing this thing off either, to be honest. And just quickly tack that blow off valve on. I'll drill the hole and weld it out tomorrow. Just wanted to see it in there. Fits alright. Probably the best spot for it. Still gonna have room to put the hose and that on, and I'll delete these anyway. So I was gonna move it further over, but it starts getting onto the bend, and planning on making some sort of catch can in that here one day. So just quickly welded the sensor bung in, and now I'm just plugging up this hole. I just filled it with a bit of alloy rod, and then I'm just gonna buzz it around. What a genius idea that was. Look at that.
That was very cool.
I don't think you get any better than that. Getting this bay prepped up to paint. Ryan's doing a lovely job of seeing it. Prepping the radiator. Getting it all taped off and water painted up. Oh, good eh? Got all the bay painted up. So Dean's come and put the ute bed liner stuff on in the bay, and then put like the base colour on, and then he's cleared it as well. So it's come up pretty trick. And then we're just painting up all the accessories. So we've got the rocker covers, the intake, the intercooler piping, shifter, turbo compressor housing, the radiator, and the sump. We're doing all that black, so we'll check in once it's all painted up. Asian promoter on this, and then we got the, what's it called? Acid etch.
Acid etch.
Acid etch on the rest of them, and then they're going black.
Did you grab that tub of things?
This is my handiwork on the old primer. Dean gave me a crack on the gun, so I suppose if it turns to shit, it was my fault. So it was a pretty busy day out in the shed, but it was successful. We got heaps done. So we've got all this stuff painted. Intake, rocker covers, shifter, all the intercooler piping and the turbo housing, throttle body. We decided to paint the radiator. Radiator's all painted. Sump, and the sump all black. And the bay's all painted. Come out pretty good. So we done it in this, Dean painted it in this stone guard, then the base colour, and then clear. That's like the radiator support panel. Yeah, look, come up Smick. I'm stoked. Ryan's stoked. We just got to build the motor now. And then start putting all this, piecing all this back together. So it's getting closer. Thanks for watching this episode. So in the next episode, I've just got to finish off a little bit of the fab work. I just got to do the dump pipe and mount the wastegate and plumb that in, and then build the engine. So that'll be in the next episode of this, and then that'll be pretty much my work done. Then the car's just got to get wired up and just do all the plumbing work and stuff for like radiator and all that. And then, yeah, it'll probably be pretty much get it running, get on the dyno, get it tuned, and then take it to the track. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, shared the video. Yeah, or you can follow us on our other socials. So we're on Instagram and TikTok as well, so you can follow more short updates on there. It's been a little bit long between episodes on this one, just because life's been busy and work's been busy, and this is sort of a bit of an after hours thing for me at the moment. So yeah, if you liked it, yeah, subscribe for more.